Hey everybody, how you guys doing? This is Jason Hochstedler, Living Proof Project. So we are on episode 4 of Uncooked, and my special guest today is a woman that I hold close. She is a very professional, educated, intelligent woman in the realm of prison reentry and just a bunch of different other things. She's been at this for a while. She's kind of walked out my own personal reentry with me from a distance. She kind of knows the intimate details. Obviously, it's not just about me. She's had many clients. She currently is the program director, so she oversees all the coordinators and the North and South program directors. So she doesn't have as much interaction with the clients like she used to because she's excelled at her job and she's obviously gone up the ranks. But that, needless to say, means that she still has a lot of information. So I'm excited to bring her on. But before I do, the title, Expectations versus Reality. So we always expect things when we're coming out of prison, and I was one of them. I clearly had a vision of what was going to happen when I exited prison. Thought this is going to be easy. I got a plan. It's all wrote out. I have everything accounted for. I know what I need to do. And then I got out of prison and realized that my expectations didn't meet the reality. Now, how do you handle that? Well, that's why my special guest is on. So I know for my LinkedIn audience, a lot of you guys are professionals. You're right up there in the ranks with my special guest. So you're probably watching this to hear professional opinions. For my Facebook audience, I know I have a lot of followers, about 1,500 of you on there on Facebook. You guys are home. Some of you guys are homeless. Some of you guys are battling addictions. Some of you are walking out your own prison reentry walk right now. I know I've spoken with a bunch of you over the last week. Listen to what this guest has to say. Listen to what she has to say. I tailored the questions so that it would be beneficial both for my professional audience and also for the audience on Facebook that's walking some of this out right now. So definitely listen to what she has to say. Take it, use it, and be successful. So, without further ado, expectations versus reality. I want to introduce Carrie Heck, Program Director, IDOC, Hoosier Initiative for Reentry.
Hey, Jason.
Hey,
Hey,
Carrie.
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm hanging in there, trying
You're
to.
hanging in there?
Yep.
How was the holidays?
Great. Yeah. Downtime, got to breathe a little bit. Now I'm back at it.
My holidays were good as well. Of course, everybody, you guys can see I'm sporting my Michigan gear. Go blue! They knocked off the Crimson Tide the other day, so that's amazing. They're playing for the national championship. So you know that I got some questions for you. I want to pull on your knowledge. I want to pull on your information. So I'm going to sit here and enjoy my cup of coffee, and I'm going to ask you some questions, and you have at it. All right? Does that sound good?
I'm ready.
Okay. All right. So, question one. So, in your experience, where have you seen individuals go wrong with unhealthy expectations of employment and housing?
So, if they're incarcerated, the problem that they do is they wait until they get out to start their process. If you're not starting planning for your release when you get into the facility, you're doing yourself a disservice. Once you get out, you have to make a lot of decisions that you haven't had to make in a long time. So it's a burden to try to add to that. Look, I always say looking for a job is a full time job, and people don't realize that. So they get out, and then the euphoria of being released is gone. And then all of these things hit them: daycare, travel, work. They have to go meet with their parole or probation officer. They have restrictions, drug testing sometimes. So they don't immediately have success. And that it hard for folks because they already have self-doubt. They already have barriers going against them. If they don't plan ahead, then they're already behind the game. Then they come to us and say, "Listen, my parole agent or probation officer says that I'm going back if I don't get a job, and this is 30 days out." So, it makes it harder for us to be able to work with them and get them the job that they want, or get them put in contact with, housing folks or barrier busting programs that really do assist. So they let their pride get in the way, or they let their "I'm out, I'm gonna go hang out with my friends," and they wait too long. So
Okay.
that's a very unhealthy pro
Well, so for the ones that don't do anything, they just wait until they get out and just expect it's all going to fall in their lap in a nice, neat package. So for the ones that do plan and that do put something together, do you see any of those that they put the plan together, but their plan just doesn't match what the reality might be?
Yes, several times a day, probably. Um, that's when you have to have those hard conversations, and I think the key to all of this is going into it with your pride in your pocket, leave it in your car, throw it in the river, do what you need to do to make sure that you're really focusing on your barriers, what you need help with, how you don't think you're going to succeed. You have to go into it with an open mind and listen. We've done it thousands and thousands of times, but I think since 2012, we're rolling up to about 20,000 Hoosiers being put into jobs, and these are full-time benefited jobs. So listen to the experts and put your pride in your pocket. No matter how much you plan, if
Oh,
you
wait. Say that. Please say that again because I need to hear it as well. Put your pride where?
throw it in the river, run over it with the car,
Put it in your pocket.
in your pocket, yeah. Those are the things that are success killers, is when they come in and, "I don't need your help." "Okay, well, I've got 50 people behind you, but I feel like you do need my help." Those are the conversations our hire coordinators are having across the state, trying to help, and you're your worst barrier.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. So, question two, from addiction recovery programs, therapy based programs, reentry programs, education programs, obviously across many different states, just not Indiana, states have really ratcheted up the idea of like true form rehabilitation and across the board. Obviously, here we're talking about reentry, but what in, in the game of reentry, we know that with hire, you start before they actually exit, which is huge. And it's 6 months, right? Is it 6 months or correct me?
So we can work with people. Sometimes with the way the program's set up, we can have clients who are 5 years out. We can have
Yeah.
clients that are 20 years out, but those are in our program for a different reason. We like to start at about 180 days, or when the client asks for our help. We're never too busy. I mean, we are too busy all the time, but we're never too busy to talk to a client and try to talk them off the ledge, or try to give them hope, or try to sometimes kick them in the pants to, you're being dramatic. Just focus on the positives, focus on what you need to work on, and make sure you're listening to the people who are trying to help you. I don't think incarcerated individuals, or what we call clients, I don't think they understand how much the Department of Correction is trying to help them. And it's a stigma to where I hated the word felon. I still hate the word felon. I think that I call it the F bomb. I think as much as folks don't like to be called a felon, the stigma of the Department of Correction not wanting to help and wanting to keep people in facility, they our clients need to change their perspective on that, because there's a lot of growth that's been done, um, daily by the department to better our opportunities for success for our client base. Now, I'm not saying every person in any job is perfect. And there are some knuckleheads that work anywhere that don't care. But we try to make sure that we're screening our employees coming in to show that they have the passion. It's not the same world. DOC is not the same DOC it was in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. We're really trying to give everyone a leg up and a chance, a fair chance. Everyone says that um, our clients are second chance. You know, everyone needs a second chance. Some of our client base never got a first chance. So it's unfair for us to judge and be critical of our client base, just as sometimes it's unfair for the client base to judge our our workers.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I would say that I think that it is. I mean, coming from the perspective of somebody that walked out the other side of it, there is a lot of negativity in prison. There just is. No matter how positive you choose to be, you're surrounded by negativity. And so it's a constant rat race trying to keep yourself focused on the positive aspects of what you need to do so that you're successful when you get out. When, in the day room, you have nothing but card games going on, people sharing stories of their past, and it's a swamp to walk through. I know that. So it's interesting, but hey, nothing wrong with a kick in the pants. I think you gave me one actually, so I'm not sure. It is what it is. So um, so what about, like, what are some of the characteristics that support a healthy balance between, like, expectations and reality? Like, you want people to have hope. You want people to, like, have that hope. I mean, I know that that's what kind of drove me was having the idea in my head of what I wanted, of how I was going to overcome these issues in my life, recovery, these barriers. And so you want hope, so you don't want to just strip expectations completely away from somebody, but you got to find that healthy balance. So with those individuals where you've seen that they have a good amount of hope, but they also have a good structure of reality, what are some of the characteristics you see with them?
So we start every one-on-one conversation with any client that we have with um, you're setting a baseline with them. Listen, we're going to have some hard conversations. You're not going to like what I'm going to have to say sometimes, and you're going to really like what I have to say sometimes. But know this, if you're honest with me, I'm going to be honest with you, and I will work as hard, if not harder, to have you succeed. Even through the bad times, I'm going to be there to listen to you. I want you to go out and make your life different. And that's pretty much a stamp of what a hire coordinator talks to any client about. So you level set the expectations to where they can trust you, you can trust them, and then once that barrier is passed, that the clients open up. They've been dying to ask for help. They've been dying to really focus on what's going to get them out of prison or out of the county jails or wherever they're at. That's what they want to focus on. So it's the folks that when we have those group sessions, you can see they're listening. They might have an exterior up, but you can see they're really paying attention. And they start to answer questions or they start to take notes. Those are the client traits that we look for to push to succeed. Clients that go in that aren't ready, they're laying their heads on the table. They're talking about how their case manager made them come to the training, or, but by the end, there's two focuses really. One are the clients that come in and they're really focused and they want the help. And then two are the clients that we love as a challenge because we know that they have drive and ambition in there somewhere. We just have to find a way to get to them to make them believe in themselves.
Yeah, you got to unlock that door.
It's a wall, a concrete, steel, horrible wall that they put up. But when you see it click, it's the most satisfying moment in a hire coordinator's career to say, okay, I got you. Now let's change your life.
Awesome. So what does so I'm trying to think. So how does the program in the state of Indiana, how does it address the unbalanced portion of expectations in an individual and the employer? So let's say you have obviously you have this expectation versus reality on the client side, like you just spoke of, and the things that they go through. Now let's just kind of flip this. Where do you see this with the employers that work with hire? Do they have some expectations that you kind of have to sit down and have that hard discussion with them, kind of let them know what reality actually is? So what's that conversation look like?
So we really meet them where they are. We find out what their barriers are and what their fears are, and then we kind of talk through it. The ones that really fight, I can tell you some of the businesses that I had the hardest time winning over, and I've had several. Those are the ones that are really communicative and they tell you why they don't want to work with them. We have some businesses that are they fight the process. They don't trust the first time you refer a client to them and it doesn't work out for whatever reason. Um, that see, I told you this wouldn't work, or I knew we shouldn't have done this. So we work really hard at vetting our businesses also to make sure one, they have the right mindset to help our client base because we don't want someone taking advantage of any of our clients and treating them poorly. That we failed on our clients' behalf on that end. But if we have a business that we can really have conversations with, and Jason, sometimes this takes years, like years to get them to win over. We start humanizing the process. If it were your daughter that messed up and she was put in this situation, wouldn't you really want someone to give her a chance? We have a screening process that we call the traffic light. It's super easy. One of our really good partners, Cummins, in Columbus, said, how do you vet your clients? And you don't want to say, well, it's a gut check, but we created this traffic light process of folks they're not ready yet. So they're the reds. We need to refer them to some sort of group or rehab or anger management sometimes because they have been in for a long time or they just got in and they're not ready to accept anything yet. So then the yellow ones they might have barriers, they might have travel limitations, they might have no transportation, childcare. So we're really honest with the business clients and tell them, "Hey, listen, this person is perfect. They have a welding certification. They were in the union. They really did a lot of training while they were in facility, and there is a lot of training that can be done in DOC, welding certifications,
Yeah,
man,
there is. There is. Yeah, there's a lot.
so much that they can take advantage of. So we talk to them about we have a really good client, but they do have some daycare issues, or they run late a little bit. So you might have to have a hard conversation with them at the beginning that level set the expectations. Everything is about level setting expectations. So we talk to them through the green clients, which they're good to go, they're ready, they're willing, they're motivated, no transportation issues. So we really focus on the model of being completely honest. Every client that we work with signs off that we can speak on their behalf about their past, about their certifications, about what they've done while they were in facility, all of the trainings or recovery.
Any kind of therapy they went to. It's
Yeah,
funny that it's interesting that you talk about the stoplight process because I think back when I was a used car sales manager, I'd go to the auction.
yeah,
And the auction, especially at Odessa, they would have multiple lanes, and so many cars were coming through, and you can't possibly look at every car like in detail, but you need to be able, as a used car manager, to buy up some cars. You need the
yeah,
inventory. So Odessa would have a stoplight, and so when a car would pull into the lane, automatically that car, the stoplight up on the wall would either show green, which meant everything's good to go. You can buy that car right now, put it right on your lot, turn around, sell it, no problems. Then you had yellow, which was like maybe a title issue or maybe some small mechanical issues. And then obviously red meant that, hey, look, you're going to have to put a lot into this. This is going to take a lot of TLC to bring this car back around. So that's, I was thinking of that when you said that, because that was really helpful back then for us just to place a bid. I imagine how helpful it is for an employer to understand where they're at in terms of the position of the employee they're getting ready to hire,
Yeah.
like how much investment they have to put in.
Yep. We also use the traffic light for our client base too and say, where do you think you are? And what can we do to get you to that green or get you to the yellow? Because right now, your attitude's horrible. You don't have transportation. You don't have this. So the jobs you're going to have to take aren't going to be the jobs that you're going to want to end up with. So we let them rate themselves, and you wouldn't believe how many eye-opening moments our coordinators have had to where the client's like, I really do need to work on some stuff. So it's again, communication and level setting those expectations is the most important part of.
So the stoplight to the client really, and well, to the employer and the client, the whole stoplight idea that you're talking about kind of goes really well with what we're discussing overall, because it keeps a healthy balance between expectations and reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does. Okay, well, cool. So here's a good one for you. So share a success story where an individual and the employer had unhealthy expectations to match the reality. What did the coordinator or program manager do to correct this and make it successful?
I have
So,
that is my go-to that I love to talk about because it was a client that was in facility for a very long time, and it was a serious um, charge that they went in that they were convicted of. So we worked with this business in Indianapolis that was a very well-known business, and they said, "You know what? They have the qualifications. We're gonna give give them a chance." So they gave him a chance. This kid got promoted probably, I don't wanna say kid, he was a man, but a kid to me because I'm old. But, this gentleman got a job and worked really hard and knew that this was his one chance to be successful. So they ended up promoting him. 6 months later, they ended up creating a position for this gentleman, and he was really thought they thought very highly of him. So, I get a call from the business, "It's Carrie, we knew it wouldn't work. He just left, walked out, didn't talk to anyone, didn't anything." So I said, "Let me talk to the coordinator, let me get them to have a conversation, and let's find out why." So, the coordinator called the gentleman, and he said, "Honestly, I was scared. I went back to the facility mindset because my girlfriend called who was pregnant and said that she was having complications. So I knew if I asked, I wouldn't be able to go. So I just went because my child is more important than this job, no matter what." So the coordinator called back. We had a meeting with the business and they were like, why did I not know that? Like, that's, of course, your family's first. So it was that aha moment to where they said, you know what? How do I know these things? So that also ties into, we were lucky enough to get a Duke Energy Foundation grant, and we went out and interviewed all of our business, not all of them because there's so many, but we interviewed some of our big businesses and said, what fears did you have and what barriers were there and how can we best serve the HR directors and the hiring managers? So we put together a training on how to manage our client base but not treat our client base differently. So to circle back, the gentleman kept his job. As far as I know, he's still there. I've lost contact with him over the years, but it's that moment to where both the client and the business have that "you're human" moment and their human moment, and I can communicate with them, and I'm not in a facility anymore. I don't have to act like I did, and I'm not going to be treated like I was in prison.
I can remember with myself. I was just like him. Obviously before prison I struggled. I had plenty of jobs. And obviously, I walked off of a lot of them for a lot of different reasons: addiction, mental health, all sorts of reasons. But I I remember when I started looking back on that portion of my life, and it really was all fear based. It was all just because I was afraid to have a real authentic conversation with somebody. And the crazy thing is a couple of the jobs I've had, I've actually where like I did that. The boss reached out to me a couple of days later, and when I had a chance to be honest with the boss after I had not shown up to work for a couple of days, it was kind of like, well, why didn't I choose that path to begin with? And I remember the first job I ever had where a boss actually really challenged me on it. And I did take the right path. I walked in and had the conversation with them. And then they are tough conversations to have at times, but the weight that gets lifted off of your shoulders when you do it that way as trying to just live in fear or shame. Shame's another one too. A lot of us will choose that path of walking out in silence because we fear the shame. Um, so yeah, it's interesting that you share that story because it definitely relates to not just me, but I'm sure several people that can think back over jobs where they made the wrong decision just based out of fear. So
Yeah, felony or not, that's just
yeah,
you.
it is. Yeah, it is human.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's see here. Um, Best piece of advice you can give to an individual re-entering society on their first job.
The individual or employer?
Actually, let's do both. Start with individual first, and then do it. John Doe walks out. He's been out for a week. He was part of the hire program. Walked through it with a coordinator for the first year. Had a job set up, and now it's his first day of employment. What's that best piece of advice you give him?
Go in strong. And by strong, I mean confident. Go in with the knowledge that you were put in that business for a reason, and you made it through the interview, you made it to the hiring table, and you made it to work for them. They hired you for a reason, and don't let your pride or fear get in the way. And don't quit when the first. I have so much advice for this. Don't quit when the first hill you have to climb is harder than what you thought it was, and communicate. If something happens, you communicate immediately. Call your hire coordinator, call a family member that you know you can trust. Just don't quit. Don't get that first paycheck and quit. Um,
Oh, how okay? How big is that?
Bigger than I to admit.
Really?
Yeah. It's tough because people let their pride and ego and fear get in the way.
Do
You
you
know,
think? Do you really feel like is that what really drives that, or I mean, is it? Do you see more of it being like emotional, or do you see it like because they return to addictive behaviors, or is it kind of equal?
oh, that's a good question. So our addiction clients are, we keep in touch with them a lot more, and you can see and hear the triggers. So you just kind of talk them through it. I hope that we make a difference and they don't quit. I haven't heard a lot of failures if they stay in communication, or they communicate with their higher coordinator. It's the
When
one
they go dark?
when they go dark, that's when we hope for the best, but prepare for the worst on those. Adulting is hard no matter what your background is. If you don't stick with it, I've gone into jobs and quit very early on when I was younger because I thought, I have imposter syndrome. I should not be here. Like this, nope, I can't do it. So it's easier to just leave and do something else.
You know, let me say this, and I'm probably talking to somebody who's watching this or will watch this. I never went dark and came through the tunnel out the other end in a better position than when I originally went dark. So don't go dark.
Yeah, reach out to someone.
Reach out, reach out. Don't go dark because you'll. The inevitable is always a step back, or a couple, or just
More
completely get knocked on your butt. I mean, it can get bad. So, all right, what about employers? Best piece of advice. They got this guy coming in. He's been down, let's say 10 years. Let's say he's done 10 years. They obviously had the interviews with him. They chose to hire him. What are you telling this employer?
don't judge a book by its cover. Don't judge a person by their past. They have to make sure that they don't look at them as a, and I've said it more than I ever wanted to say it, don't look at them as a felon. Look at them as a human that needs help. People have blips in their past no matter what. So they have to understand that if that was their relative or their friend, they would push to get them help and employment. If they're not willing to give someone else's daughter or son or father or mother a chance, they're doing a disservice to the community, to the business, to the person, to their family. Um, it it angers me so much that when people, well, I don't want this type of person, or I don't want this type of person, or I don't want this type of person. Well, they narrow it down to someone who didn't pay taxes. I mean, that's how narrow some of these businesses go. They have to understand that people who go through our program and people who are incarcerated in general, sometimes there are knuckleheads. They're not going to change. They don't want to change. They don't have the ability at that moment to change.
Right.
But people really want that opportunity to show how good they can be. And if they're not giving chances, they're failing the system also. They complain about the system that they're adding failure to, and it's unfortunate. And
Yeah, there is there. I think we're winning the war on this, but actually, I know we're winning the war on this. But there's definitely a misconception out there, among formerly incarcerated individuals, among um, recovered addicts, all different types, really, any kind of life controlling barrier issue, that we wanted to be there, that we're comfortable with this, that we're okay. It's like, with the addict, that they're okay shooting up every day. I can't count how many times on the streets that I talk to addicts that they truly, from the bottom of their heart, don't want to be there, and they don't want to be part of what they're doing, and they're seriously asking the question, how do I get out? But they can't stop. And the
yeah,
same, I think the same is true with reentry in prison. It's like there's obviously that small percentage of people that, like you said, they're just knuckleheads for whatever reason, and it is what it is. But I would definitely say the greater majority, uh, of the clients that you've probably worked with over the years, you just got, like you said earlier, you got to find the key to that door that unlocks it all.
yeah.
All
And
right, well,
I'd tell the business to call us, of course.
okay.
Let us help them change the way they view our client base.
So it's been 35 minutes. I don't want to ruin your whole evening. So I appreciate you being on here. I want to end with this big question because I think it matters.
Okay.
So, off the top of your head, you don't get to think about it. You got to just rattle it off. All right. So,
Okay.
I want you to come up with 5 descriptive words that define a healthy outlook on expectation and reality for a client, and then 5 words that define an unhealthy outlook. So go.
Communication, um, a little bit of fear. You fear the unknown. Honesty, hope. How many is that?
That's 4.
Drive.
Drive.
Oh,
Okay.
don't give up.
Don't give up. Okay.
Yeah.
And what about unhealthy?
Fear,
That's interesting.
non-communicative, um, pride. That's 3. It's not one word, but it's not giving yourself credit for the hard work that you do.
Oh, self-image. That's self-image. Yeah.
Self-image. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, nope. I'm gonna give you 5. Hang on.
I know I got you on this one.
Did I say pride?
Yeah, you did.
Not calling higher.
Hey, that's it. That's it right there. Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's actually a good plug. Way to plug that one.
I mean,
That's a good plug. Yeah. Look, guys, a lot of any of you guys that are doing research in this area or you're already in this profession or for my Facebook followers that are walking this out, I mean, I think it's very safe to say that Carrie Heck has put her all into understanding this, studying it, trying to become better day by day. I know that from the conversations I've had with her and just how she seeks to understand. So it's special. I get to now obviously be part of this whole thing, which is just I'm not going to talk a lot about because I'm a man and I'm not going to cry on camera because that's the wrong thing to do. It's a definitely icing on the cake for me. But
so
so
I heard you're starting a new job.
maybe, yeah, no. Yes, I am. Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
So I'm going to be the Region 4 coordinator for hire. Yeah.
You know,
So
so proud of the hard work you put in, and I have been wanting to hire you for 8, 9 years now. I knew you had it in you,
I
and
just wasn't there yet.
yeah. So I and that's another thing that we try to tell our businesses is, "Look, we're not just telling you to hire our client base. We really believe in what we do, and we really believe in the clients that we have. So if we're just gonna talk the talk and not walk the walk, that's embarrassing for us." So we hire for the human, not for the
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's, I mean, look, closing thoughts, because I really do want to let her go so she can have her night. Closing thoughts are that if you're out there, you know that Department of Corrections across the United States, they're trying. They're trying. You cannot deny that. If you have something bad to say, that's just because you want to be critical. These places are trying. I know they are. If you do your research, you'll see so many programs in states. Hire's just one of them, but Hire has some extreme success. They've been around for over a decade. Carrie's, how long have you been at the helm of the ship?
Since its inception.
Since its inception. So I mean, 12 years. So it's just, we're making progress and that's why we're having these discussions, and I know we're making progress because there's uh I'm not going to get into it, but if you knew my record like Carrie knows my record, the fact that I am working for the state of Indiana, is testament by itself that the Hoosier Initiative for Reentry backs up what it says. That Carrie Heck backs up what it says. That Molly Bennett, that any of the coordinators, Kristen, they back up what they say. They walk the walk, and it was nice to have you as a special guest. I appreciate you entertaining my little side gig here and giving people some information that they probably need to hear. Do you have any kind of closing thoughts?
No, just don't give up if you're out there and you really need help, or if you're a business and you need clients, which obviously the workforce is scary right now. Um, give this untapped market an opportunity, and you won't be any more sorry than what you would if you hired someone off the street and they didn't work out for you.
Yeah. What is the website for an employer? Where do they start? They go to the website.
Yeah, hire at idoc.in.gov.
There you go. Hire at idoc.in.gov. So if you're an employer, you like what you've heard. I know I got a lot of HR people on LinkedIn that you might watch this at some point down the road. So that's the plug there, and it's a good one. And again, so thankful. Thank you for your wise words, and I can't wait to. I mean, you're my boss now, so can't wait to develop that relationship from the boss side of things.
There you go. I'm proud of you, Jason.
All right. Well, you have an awesome night, Carrie,
You,
and thank you again.
you too, Jason.
All right. Bye.
Bye.